Yes, I'm from a multinational company. We're based out of Bloomington in Indiana, which is in the middle of the US in the Bible Belt. I lived there for 6 years. I took an Australian product over to the US and then made it into a global product. It's now worth about 400 million a year in sales. Started out with 2 doctors in Perth who had an idea in 1994. And I actually got to take it to the world in 2003. Why do I tell you that story? Because that's how long it took to get that idea to the market. Everybody has ideas. We have lots of people that come to us with ideas. I have ideas. I have 40 engineers on staff in Brisbane. They have ideas. I have every university just about in Australia at the moment who has ideas. And they're all coming to us and they all want to commercialise. And lo and behold, the government has said, we're not going to give you funding unless you have some commercialisation component in there. Well, guess what? Nobody really knows what commercialisation is or how to do it. And heavens above, if they have to pay for it, they're going to die, right? It's not an easy process. So to give you an idea of how many ideas are out there, just under a year ago, I put a little team of people together, a couple of engineers, a marketing person, an engineer in Hong Kong, and I said to them, I need some new ideas. I want you to go out and find me some new ideas that I can commercialise, and I will send those to any cook company anywhere in the world to bring them to market. And I set them the target in a year of finding 50 ideas, because out of 50, we would probably get 3 that we would pursue through to commercialisation. And that's given that everything goes smoothly. So as of the end of July, they had 167 ideas that we had put through the system. Of those, we have 8. So it gives you an idea of how many ideas are out there and how many, and these are all medical ideas, by the way, so this is just purely in the medical area. So there are lots of ideas. The question is, what are they about? Why does anybody want them? And how are we going to get them to market? And you know, sometimes I was in Adelaide, at a university in Adelaide, and they took me into this laboratory, and there was a table that was about that wide and about twice that length. And they said to me, that's a device that is going to measure if a person's had a heart attack, and we'll have it available, you know, at the bedside. I said, well, there's only one problem. It's that big, right? And it needs to be the size of that man's iPhone. And they looked at me and said, oh, yeah, we hadn't thought of that. I said, well, it's, you know, time to start thinking. And now this was very clever technology, extremely clever technology. I offered them an engineer, free. I said, I will give you an engineer, I'll put them on site, and they will miniaturize it. It fell over because the university couldn't get their head around commercializing it. And we'll get into why. So you've got to ask yourself a whole lot of questions before you even start down the path of commercializing anything. IP, intellectual property, absolutely fascinates me. Of all of the people that come to us, how many have not thought about intellectual property? And they suddenly think, well, this is a really expensive process, right? Bullshit. It's actually cheap, right? Because all you have to do is write a disclosure. Right? Once you've written a disclosure, you're covered, and then you can talk to people. And before we'll talk to anybody, we make them do it. We make them do that so that they're protected. And in the future, obviously, that we would be protected. So IP is very important. And in Australia, for some reason, we have developed this concept that, oh, IP isn't important, and we need to move on from that. You need to, having done that, you then need to talk to a whole lot of people and find out, is this really a good idea? Right? I work with doctors, surgeons, endoscopists, cardiologists, and all this. So they will be working away, beavering away, and they'll go, oh, it'd be really good if this was that much longer. Right? But when you go out and you ask every other doctor, the other doctor says, no, it should be that longer, this longer, that, right? And so you realize all of a sudden that you actually don't have anything new, right? It's not going to be able to be sold. Nobody wants to buy it. So you've got to go out and talk to potential users. And we've got one at the moment where we're just wandering around talking to colorectal surgeons, because we're working with a colorectal surgeon and he thinks this thing is really good. We're not sure that his colleagues think the same thing. Funding. Whatever you think it's going to cost, just throw that out, right? Think of a multiple, right? And put that on the end, right? I would suggest to you it's probably going to cost somewhere between 5 and 10 times what you think it's going to cost, right? That was 5 to 10 times, right? Most ideas are dying because they're underfunded. And I have people that come and talk to me and they are right then, they have the bank who is on their back. They've mortgaged their house, they've mortgaged their son's house, they've mortgaged their grandfather's house. They've done everything and they still haven't even got part of the way down the track, right? I had one guy recently came to me and he said, he was a doctor, and he said to me, I'm into this for about 20 million. 20 million, right? The whole of the family money is tied up, right? And it's a great idea. It will never see the light of day. I can tell you that right now, right? Because it is so difficult to do. There'll be 10 doctors in the world that can do this particular procedure. So funding is something you have to think about. So the trap with funding for inventors is you're actually talking to them about their baby, right? And I've had a lot of them that walked in and said, oh, I've got this idea. I want to take it to market, right? And I say, great, I'll take it. And they go, no, I don't know. No, it's mine, right? And you go through this whole process. Now, the other thing about doctors is they are very socially conscious people. So they have in their head that this particular thing should be sold so it's available for every, unfortunately, sick person in the world for $5.50. Except that it costs me $105.50 to make the damn thing, right? And so you get into conversations around, I have got to put this on the market for $400. And they go, no, that's not what I want. That's not my concept, right? This is mine, right? So that, I can tell you, can become a very difficult sticking point if you are the entrepreneur who is trying to work with this person and take it to market. So just think about that when you're going down that path. The other thing is, who are you going to try and sell this to? Do you understand who your customer is? It's amazing the number of times that people come and talk to us, or I talk to our engineers and whatever, and I ask those simple questions, right? What is the market potential? Oh, heaps. I go, oh, okay. What's heaps? Right? Lots. Everybody's my other favorite comment, right? What does that really mean? So try and quantify it, right? And I'll just take a little digression, right? I was once sitting with a boss in the US and he was trying to convey to the audience about spending the company money wisely. And he said, you should spend it like it's your own money. If you're buying a bottle of wine, think that you're buying it for yourself. And I said, Cam, that's a really bad analogy. And he said, why? And I said, I love wine and I wouldn't buy anything for less than $60. He went, shit, I pay $8. And I said, so you've got to think about what you're doing there. So what's the potential market? Really find out what it is, right? Again, I can tell you out of 160 of those ideas, probably half of them don't even have a market. And you've got to think about the size of the market because the cost of production and everything else is really going to be a big impact for you. What is the competition? Again, amazing that people think just because they think they've got a better idea, it's going to blow the competition away, right? Lots of people are happy with your competition. Lots of people are happy with your competitor. So you've got to get them away from your competitor with some unique message. So what's your unique selling proposition? Oh, hadn't thought of that, right? So you've got to go down that path as well. And oftentimes we have a lot of discussion about that. What is unique about this? What is going to be that leap? What is going to be that jump that is going to get you somewhere? Are we talking about change or are we talking about iteration? Our industry is full of a lot of iteration, a lot of iterative change. We can make things a little bit smaller, we can add something to it. I always tell a famous story about how we changed the colour of something, put a new brand on it and charged double. But I shouldn't share those secrets of the health industry with you. And that wasn't this company. But you have to think about that. Are you really going down the path of change? Because if you are, then you're probably onto something. Right? Iteration is going on all the time. Every company is doing it. In our industry, we've got some really big competitors. Johnson & Johnson, Medtronic. J&J is a $70 billion company. Medtronic just became a $70 billion company. Our global turnover will be 2.2, 2.3 billion this year, globally. We're small fry, right? So if you want to take on the big boys, you've got to be pretty good. And we tend to niche rather than try and take them on. And we look for those changes where we can get a unique place in the market. And that's, we're manufacturing here in Australia and exporting $100 million all over the world. So you can do it. Prototyping, right? Again, a lot of people haven't really thought about how do you make this damn thing, right? They've got a good idea. They go down to their little workshop, and the device that I took to the world, he actually made it in his basement, essentially in Perth, with a surgeon, right? There was no prototyping or anything. It kind of just emerged, right? Those days are really gone, and you've got to do a lot more prototyping. And in fact, we just put in a 3D printer over at 8 Mile Plains, the only one in Australia of that particular type, because this is a very critical part of what we're doing. Because to commercialize something and actually get it out into the market, you've got to be able to make it, and you've got to be able to make it in quantities at a cost that the market can afford, that'll keep you in the market for a period of time. And as I said, we started commercially selling this product I'm talking about in 99. We're still selling it today. We're still writing patents today on those original patents. I've already talked about, is it possible to be made? Right? We again get people that come to us and they've been able to make it in their basement on a lathe and a bit of welding and a bit of silver solder and all of this sort of stuff. And then I give it to my engineers and they sit there scratching their heads going, we're never going to be able to do this commercially, right? We can make them one-off, handmade, bespoke, but how do you make it commercially? And that's a real challenge for us. This is one of my favourite words, is technology, because I hear everybody talking about technology, and I almost will not allow my marketing people to use that word at all, because most of it is not technology, right? What is technology? In my view, it's something that is new. It's that leap forward. It's that thing that's out there. A lot of the stuff that we have in our industry is not really technology, right? In fact, the device that we make over at 8 Mile Plains, the stainless steel springs that we use in it, stainless steel was invented, back in the 50s. The Dacron that we wrap around it was actually invented in the 50s. The sutures that we sew it with were actually started out as sausage skins and then became sutures, again, back in the 50s. So I would argue that our device isn't really technology, it's just the way in which we make things, right? So be careful what you claim, and if you do find a technological leap, then you're really onto something. Tested. Again, in our industry, one of the terrible things that happens, and this just happened to Resmed, if you happen to know who Resmed is, they came up when they had this wonderful idea that their sleep apnea machine would reduce the occurrence of heart attack. And they started a clinical trial which cost them many, many millions of dollars, and the clinical significance of the clinical trial partway through was zero. So they had to kill the trial, right? And so that was all that money that went down the drain. And really it was flawed at the beginning because they hadn't really thought about the testing that they should have done and how they should have worked it out. In our industry, a clinical trial will cost you about $70,000 per patient, and the regulators are wanting $100,000 to 400 patients for any new product. Learn to freeze your design. We get lots of toy makers, people that just keep fiddling. They want to make it better and better. We stop our engineers from doing that. And then you've got to get it approved. Approval will take us anything from 3 to 5 years if we've done all those other steps. And that's not even in every country in the world. So, you know, I've just got something going through China at the moment which is probably going to get rejected after 3 years, just because it's run out of time and the Chinese can do whatever they like. So they've decided that they've told every company, well, start again. So we just lost 3 years. And thank you very much. Thank you.